What's going on, everybody? It's KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN here, bringing you guys another review for Chainsaw Man chapter 129. And dude, there's a lot to unpack from this latest chapter because Mitaka and Yoru's relationship, they got problems, and Mitaka is beginning to do a 180 on her opinion of Chainsaw Man, which is going to make it very interesting when we do get to that inevitable moment where she learns that Denji is indeed Chainsaw Man. Safe to say that the drama between Yoru and Mitaka is about to ramp up in the future because this experience with the Falling Devil didn't bring them closer together. If anything, it drove them further apart. So with my initial thoughts out of the way, let's back things up and let's dive into the recap portion of the review before we go deeper into what I think about the chapter. So the chapter opens up with Mitaka realizing that there are now two Chainsaw Mans, and before she can get too focused on what's before her, she and Denji are thrust through the air by an attack from behind, which does major damage to Denji. And when Mitaka comes to, Yoru's immediate reaction isn't, "Hey, Mitaka, are you okay?" It's telling Mitaka finish off Chainsaw Man, and when she sees that Mitaka is apprehensive about doing so, it baffles Yoru because she thought Mitaka would jump at the opportunity to get rid of Yoru from inside of her body. This leads to Yoru throwing a fit while Mitaka cuts her palm with a chunk of the debris and feeds her blood to Denji so that he can recover, which immediately pisses off Yoru, who basically calls in an act of treason to heal Chainsaw Man, and that's where we get that deep line of reflection by Mitaka. She says that Chainsaw Man has saved her life twice now, and that if trash like him can be allowed to live, then it should be okay for her to live as well, which I think is really clever writing because it ties back to what we've seen in the past, which is that after Mitaka initially was about to die, there was a part of her that is learning to all over again how much it is that she wants to live and what it means to actually live itself. Her saying it's okay for someone like her to live is another sign of that, and it's poetic given what we just went through with her character, where she basically had flashbacks of memories that she wanted to forget shoved in her face, and you had Denji talking her through her grief. It's a coming to a reckoning moment for Mitaka's character, and I think it's much needed for her character itself. Seeing Denji be part of the reason for the change in Mitaka is another reason why I want to see more of these two moving forward, because Denji's presence is more than the comedic relief like we got in this chapter where he just yeets the guy off of the motorcycle. He also brings out another side to Mitaka, especially when he's Chainsaw Man, and at the end of the chapter where she makes that soft face when she's hugging on to Denji's body, it's a sign that Denji is making changes to Mitaka as Chainsaw Man when he's around her. After Denji does revive and he saves Mitaka, he carries her off to safety as they continue to be attacked by that devil that's running after them. This leads to Denji admitting that he might not be able to save Mitaka at this rate because it does look like they're about to be hit from all sides by what appears to be a pincer attack. However, Denji manages to avoid the attack and states that he's beginning to grow tired now, which makes you realize how tall of a task that fake Chainsaw Man gave to Denji was. At this rate, having to keep himself alive and Mitaka, there's no way he's gonna survive for the full duration. But Mitaka, seeing Denji approach his limits, tells him to take the motorcycle that a woman's riding on. But once Denji sees that it's a woman riding on it, he refuses because, you know, Denji has morals. He won't steal from a woman, but when he sees a guy riding the motorcycle, he just knocks the guy off of it with a drop kick and he takes the motorcycle. This leads to Mitaka turning the motorcycle into a large motorcycle weapon that has a massive chainsaw blade coming out of it, which slices up the appendages of the devil that's chasing after them, which is where the chapter ends off. So there's quite a bit to actually unpack here out of this latest chapter. Despite it being rather quick, there were some really strong character moments as well as nuggets for the future that were set in place. The first thing that stands out is that Fujimoto is being very intentional with this decision to not reveal the identity of the fake Chainsaw Man, while also having Mitaka verbalize the confusion that we as readers have by having her acknowledge there are two Chainsaw Men in this story. Chainsaw Man, when it wants to be, it can be super fast paced, but this idea to kick the can down the road for the reveal of the fake Chainsaw Man is starting to be something that's really smart because we can circle back to it later on after we wrap up the current events of the arc itself. There's a lot we got to get through, from the Nostradamus prophecy to just surviving the night in hell that they have. There's a lot that we got to get to before we go back to that. Now, the only concern I do have is that this might be a situation where the reveal is kicked down the road so far that fan expectations end up being higher than what we actually get. It's the danger with something like this, but I do trust Fujimoto with the his timing. The one thing that I've learned from reading Chainsaw Man is that just when you think Fujimoto's forgotten about something, he brings it right back up in your face. Now, the next thing that stands out is we have the obvious seeds of conflict that are being set up between Yoru and Mitaka, because it's quickly becoming clear that while Yoru is trying to understand Mitaka, she is hell-bent on the destruction of Chainsaw Man. The hesitation by Mitaka is enough to show that Yoru doesn't really understand the layers to Mitaka. Does she want her body and her life back? Absolutely. Yet, just as we saw a few chapters ago how she was hesitant to pick up on a random person who got turned into a weapon, Mitaka has lines that she won't actually cross. She joined this alliance with Yoru knowing that this is something she would have to do. But knowing what you have to do and actually going through with it are two different things. It's like that expression, don't listen to what people say, pay attention to what they're doing. We're seeing that right now with Yoru and Mitaka. And this is a conflict that is not over. That being said, the fact that Yoru threw this temper tantrum that she did and she didn't actually kill Mitaka or even make her suffer is showing that on some level there might be some growing attachment between Yoru and Mitaka from Yoru's end, even if Yoru won't ever fully show it. I'm not saying something on the lines of like Denji and Pochita, but Yoru's view of Mitaka has to be something we keep our eyes on moving forward. Speaking of something we have to keep our eyes on, Mitaka saying the word "Save me, Chainsaw Man" is something we do need to keep our eyes on in the future, because this very well could lead to something in the future from Fujimoto as we get closer to the pending apocalypse that Fami was telling Yoshida about. Fujimoto literally has a few different ways he can take this, and as a writer, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You want to give yourself options, especially with Mitaka. If he wants to, he can plant the seeds for a Mitaka redemption arc, all while continuing to give us more interactions with Denji and Mitaka, which is something I do feel that the story itself needs, because Denji, when he's there, actually makes Mitaka a little bit more of a sympathetic character. However, that's just kind of how I view it though. The chapters where these two are together, or they're in the same chapter at some point, not necessarily interacting, but they're in the same chapter, they've been some of the best moments of Chainsaw Man Part 2 in my opinion. Between that and the mystery angle, who's the fake Chainsaw Man, Fujimoto has a lot of stuff to play with. So my chapter question to you guys, we're gonna keep this one simple. So how do you guys feel about Mitaka actually refusing to follow Yoru's orders when it came to Chainsaw Man? Is this a sign that Mitaka is changing? While you think that over, click here to watch my video essay on the Gun Devil, or click here for this other Chainsaw Man video.